we'll know into the season if Ryan Poles made the right move or the wrong move by hiring Ben Johnson, right? So,
promise you that the NFC will not be decided, the number one seed will not be decided by two NFC North teams battling it out in Week 18. That will not fucking happen. This year was an anomaly, right? These teams in the NFC, they're going to beat up on each other, and I don't know if they'll have records that were as good as they were last year. So I really think that the Bears have as good of a chance as anyone now, as things stand right now.
You know, what's interesting is a while back I asked David, who's the best coach in the NFC North? And like, where does Eberflus rank? And David said, I can name you 6 better coaches than Matt Eberflus, because Brian Flores, Ben Johnson, along, you know what I mean? Or like, so at least now we've taken something away from the Lions. You're hoping for a situation like you saw in Atlanta with Dan Quinn, where, you know, the Falcons made the Super Bowl, but then Kyle Shanahan was their offensive coordinator. The second he left, all that success left with him. We're hoping that happens right now to the Lions, that like Ben Johnson is that guy. He is, you know, a good part of the reason why they're having success. And now
statistics say that he is.
Well, statistics, you got to go by eye test too, though. Like, I'm not going to take away from the talent.
Eye test before. Holy smokes! I can't even think of BJ's name. Before Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell was on the hot seat. Now he could be the coach of the year. So that's the eye test.
That's fair, and that's fair.
I mean, that was the season they were started out 0-6, and they revamped and ended up finishing out the season.
I think her name is
well.
Sheila. Sheila Ford cosplayed as George McCaskey and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Please don't sell your season tickets." And they figured it out. They got lucky.
For me, the eye test is more like, I knew who Jared Goff was. I still know who he is.
Same.
How did you get him to that level? Like, for me, that's a big.
He got a BJ. Jared Goff was an MVP because he got a BJ. I'm not going to put this down. We've got months and months to go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about BJs for months.
Start making the shirts. I love.
Yeah.
BJ. I love BJ.
A goofy BJ.
But that's where you're hoping that, you know, this is actually, you know, a lot of the credit. Like, we always talk about where the stink's coming from, right? Because we're always focused on the negative. Like, same thing. Like, you want to know where this credit is coming from. I personally never liked Jared Goff. Never really believed in him much. I was shocked he was able to consistently play at the level he's been playing. So, you know, props to them. Another thing is, like, you know, we talk about Sean McVay. Yeah, Sean McVay made a Super Bowl with Jared Goff and said, I need to upgrade there. Literally went off and traded for Matt Stafford. And so
driving
for
my
Ben
point
Johnson
home.
to take that guy that Sean McVay didn't even want and be able to at least get him to a point. Now, they didn't make the Super Bowl with him like Sean McVay did, but they were still able to compete with him and do that. So, like,
in the regular season,
those are some positives, right? Like, you got to be
playoffs are where journeyman quarterback go to get exposed, Paul. Yesterday, prime example, we saw Jalen Hurts, a little bit exposed. He got lucky because of the great Saquon Barkley. Obviously,
Darnold.
Jared Goff, Sam Darnold. There's one other quarterback who I can't think of that absolutely has gotten exposed in these playoffs. But that's the thing, right? Like, Jared Goff was good enough in the regular season, but he was always that goofball.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, Jordan Love. Thank you very much. So you've got these guys lining up to the door for Caleb Williams. I think that hopefully this is the perfect match that, you know, we need.
You know, I had a Packers fan arguing with me. He's like, well, Jared Love's only in year 2 if you think about it. He's like, he's in his second year.
Oh, my God.
No.
You should get screenshots of that.
You can't.
7 years old.
No. But you can't do that. I go, because it's not about, like, you decided to sit him as long as you decided to sit him, but it's about what you're paying him.
Right.
You're not paying him like a second-year quarterback. You're now paying him, and because of the money that you're investing, you need a return on that. In the value has to be there, and I don't care what year he's in. If you're paying this guy this much, you need him to perform at such a level, right? So, you know, that's where we got to get Caleb to now. That's going to be the important thing here for Ben Johnson moving forward, because this is what we're all in on. We are all in on the quarterback. We are going that route, and
thank God
we need to
thank
get Caleb
God
Williams
we didn't bully polls out of here to allow Caleb Williams to have some scrutiny. Because imagine Caleb Williams follows the career arc. I don't know if Dave, you said this, the Baker Mayfield career arc. I'd be dead.
That's where it was going. That's where it was going, though, Carl. Like for sure. So like, you got to hope that you get this thing stable enough and consistent enough to a point where when it's time to pay Caleb Williams, he's going to be worth paying. Period. Right. Like that's the important thing.
Not only that. I mean, to the idea of like maximizing, I said this to you guys in the group chat the other day. Whatever Caleb does in the next 1 to 2 years is who Caleb Williams is going to be. So you, regardless of what your outcome is long term, if we don't get a nice BJ with Ben Johnson here, like in 3 to 4 years, you can reevaluate, you can dump him, you can move on. But as long as he's put in some good tendencies to Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams looks happy, let's say we're looking back on this, and I said this to Paul, I think
Kyler Murray is what you're looking at.
No, more than that is like, let's say you go, okay, Caleb Williams is we've been 7-9 the last 2 years, but Caleb Williams has 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns each year. So Ben Johnson isn't a good head coach, but he definitely got the most out of Caleb Williams. At that point, Caleb Williams can move on from Ben Johnson and kind of go on. But what you did here was you got a media win, you got a public relations win, you shut Caleb and his dad up, right?
And
so
you,
that the
you
next
groomed
time
the
they want
quarterback.
to, and you groomed the quarterback. So like, look, next time Caleb is going to re-sign, but whoever the next head coaching hire is up to the management, not to Caleb Williams and his dad. But like, really, what you did right now is Carl Williams is going to shut the fuck up. Rome Odunze's dad is going to shut the fuck up. Caleb is going to shut the fuck up. Like, everybody got what they wanted, and for better or for worse, like that's part of the reason is it might be growth. It might be just a lesson learned, but you did the right thing. It's refreshing to see the Bears do the simplest, most correct thing. I wasn't shocked by it because I did see this overcorrection from George kind of coming, where he just knew he had to make a splash, purely just because, I mean, we're watching George implode like before our very eyes. He fired a coach for the first time ever. He's about to spend the most money ever.
Ryan Poles him.
But I'm shocked that Johnson almost wanted to come here. Like that's kind of what I'm surprised about.
Why?
I'm not. Why? Why would you be surprised by that? It's the best opportunity.
Caleb Williams is the best quarterback that was available to Ben Johnson. That's full stop. Whether it's available now, being able to acquire someone else, the only crackpot scenario that I could have came up with was that the Dallas Cowboys would hire Deion Sanders, Deion's son, Shador, would John Elway his way into Dallas, and Dallas would have to trade away Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is not a world beater, but that's the best possible scenario that maybe like on the Raiders or the Titans.
Yeah, you don't think Ben Johnson could have had success on the Cowboys though?
Well,
no.
Yeah,
the Cowboys fucked themselves.
I believe he could have.
The Cowboys fucked themselves. They waited too long. They fired Fat McCarthy weeks after. The Bears finally did something correct and cut bait with a lame duck head coach, right? So, I don't know. As far as the Cowboys are concerned, I don't care about that.
Also, with the hints that Ben Johnson's camp, like, this is one of those, like, let's go back and look at what Ben Johnson's camp, right? Like, his agents and all that dropped hints towards. It was all hints towards the Bears because that was kind of the point, right? Which was, hey, like, I need clear hierarchy here. I need to know where I fall into all this and blah, blah, blah. Like, Jerry Jones is like Johnny Walker Blue, coked out ass walking in and like dictating what Ben Johnson's about to do the next year or the next 5 years. Like, Ben Johnson would never go there. Like, it's a non-starter to talk about Ben Johnson's success in the Cowboys. Like, the only pie in the sky really was Tom Brady, because Tom Brady might have like charmed his pants off, like realistically, or Trevor Lawrence would have been like a potential better case scenario than Caleb Williams in his mind.
And Tom Brady could be the best option at quarterback that Ben Johnson had, which is ironic. They'd have to pay him a lot of money to take him out of that Fox booth, and whatever else is going on as far as the money. The
ownership would have done it though.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is like, and this is where I said this to you guys today. Like, I've adopted a lot of Carl's phrases, and Jared Goff is definitely one of them. If I feel like, honest to God, if it wasn't for Jared Goff doing what he did yesterday, Ben Johnson does not take this job as quickly.
Right.
Like,
No, of course not.
He literally could not. That's why the Bears were having all these stopgap interviews. Everyone's so mad at them casting the wide net.
If they had won yesterday, then yes, obviously he couldn't take a job. But legitimately, I think even if they lost and Jared Goff had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, but they lost somehow, he would have had a little bit more contemplation behind leaving Detroit, or where he could go, or what he could develop, or the level of talent he could get out of a mediocre quarterback. He'd reevaluate. And he was just like, yesterday, he probably went like, fuck this shit. This is what I had to deal with Detroit. And now it's like, now I get to just, you know what? I'm going to take what I already know. I know what I could get out of a guy like Jared Goff. And then now I get to do that with Caleb Williams. Yeah. So that's where I think, honestly, the Lions losing to Washington was probably the best case scenario for Bears people who wanted Ben Johnson into getting Ben Johnson. If it didn't happen the way it happened, I don't think you get Ben Johnson.
It's such a quick turnaround, because when did they lose? It was Saturday night, right?
Yep.
So Sunday he's like, fuck, I gotta think. And then you've got the news of the Bears. Actually, it was Saturday night.
Literally 2 minutes after the game ended.
The running back, Eddie George. So I also think that we briefly, I forgot who I even did this with. I do too many shit. The Bears had released that piece of news regarding Tomlin, right? They had kicked the tires on Mike Tomlin, right? I think that was the Bears reciprocating for their BJ. They said, yeah, we're willing to do whatever it takes. We'll give you this amount of money. Yeah. If you're going to be available after this game, just be the head coach of the Bears, man.
Yeah, Dave said the same exact thing to me when I asked him about it. He said that is a message to Ben Johnson's camp, letting him know that we're willing to pay one of the highest paid coaches, so that's not going to be an issue. That's not going to be what stops you from coming here.
The Tomlin thing was a pure smokescreen bullshit move. Like, they knew they were never going to even attempt to pay Tomlin.
And
but
multiple
it was a message
teams,
to Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
But it was a message to Ben Johnson saying, like, if we're willing to pay Mike Tomlin $17 a year, we'll pay you the $13. Cliff Victoria had a great comment.
I'll throw that up on the screen. I just don't want this to get lost in the sauce. The scroll saying that Johnson saw Jaden and said, I need me a young star quarterback. Ben Johnson declined the Redskins job that would have been able to garner Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, however that would have shook out.
And the report was that he wanted Sam Howell.
It's not just a young quarterback. What it is David, I remember me and you had this discussion a bit ago where, it was when we had Fields and it was the idea of a running quarterback, and running quarterbacks don't work in this league. And I'm just like, yeah, but like Russell Wilson's a running quarterback in theory. He was very mobile and he was able to win Super Bowls and this and that. So just that pure runner at first, like, Lamar Jackson's even been developed into a great passer. But hold on. What David's response to me was, there's very few guys in this league that don't have a run game element to their quarterback play. And when it comes to the most recent ones, it's like, Matt Stafford was drafted a while ago. But then it's like Jared Goff and Joe Burrow maybe, and like Baker, I don't know. Baker
Burrow's got wheels, but
yeah. So that's what I mean. Like Jared Goff sits in the pocket.
Yep.
He might be one of the last like pure pocket passers that you've seen in a long time, whereas a lot of these other guys at least have the ability to scramble off.
The four quarterbacks in the championship games is Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and fucking Jaden Daniels, all that will run for 50 yards or more.
They're all lethal with their legs at times when they need to be.
Yeah, so I think you just mentioned the 4 teams remaining, right? The 4 teams left in the championship games.
That's why they're here. It's good.
This is the new age of quarterback. And Caleb Williams and Lamar Jackson, as far as their running abilities, apples to oranges. But Caleb Williams is the closest thing to a Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. And his wheels are definitely something that Ben Johnson will be able to add into his offense that otherwise with Jared Goff definitely could not have that.
And it's not even his wheels. It's his elusiveness. Like, he'll have a guy draped on him, he'll throw him off, or he'll get around him somewhere somehow in the pocket. I mean, kind of like how Fields did. Fields was very good at doing that. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he could get out of a sack. Same thing what Caleb Williams does. He's very elusive. He's very bottom heavy too as well. He's got strong legs.
I think that's apples to oranges in the sense that Fields was just elusive period as a running back, dare I say.
Caleb is
so
very
one
elusive,
cut
too.
and out of the pocket, and he's running down the field.
Well, that's the difference, though.
Caleb Williams literally evaded, I think, 50 sacks. I know Paul loves to bang the drum. Caleb Williams, most sack quarterback since David Carr, Derek Carr, whatever those bozos, Well,
Carl.
He also avoided the most sacks in the NFL in a long time.
By double
and
the next person.
Yes, and my gut told me that Caleb Williams would be able to maneuver the pocket and overcome a weak interior offensive line. I was wrong in a sense, but the more I'm thinking about this, if Ben Johnson can have his scheme, his concept translate to a Bears offensive line that just a couple of years ago had a quarterback run for 1,000, they literally acquired the record for most rushing yards in the Chicago Bears season, granted with an additional football game to be played. But the Bears' DNA, in my opinion, their offensive line, they can run the football. So if that scheme gets applied and you get a running back, we'll talk about that maybe in a second. We've got a good picture I got to show you guys. But a running game that can
used to work with a guy named DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Swift is going to be a very good second option for the running back that we're going to draft 10th overall. But in all seriousness, give Caleb Williams a legitimate run game, and maybe he'll be able to flourish as a passer that way. We don't have to break our necks and trade everything away for Will Campbell and Calvin Banks and all these tackles. No. Let's run the ball first.
You have to trade away though for that stuff.
Minus the offensive line.
The mock drafts I've seen 10. The Bears draft 10 tackles. It's suicide fodder. Sorry, Dave.
With a good scheme, like this is why I was talking about like part of the scheme. I don't think any part of the Bears has ever been as bad as anybody tries to make them out to be. And with a good scheme, they definitely upgrade. Like there are schematic things where it's like this play is designed to last 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. Like this play is 3 seconds or get rid of it. And that's something that Caleb Williams has just not comprehended in his first year in the NFL. It's just not been handed to him. So like, that's a big upgrade in and of itself. The other part of it is like, can you imagine like the BJ that Cole Kmet can't wait to get?
Oh yeah.
After with Ben John, like the happiest
we're talking about Sam Laporta
right
being a top 5 tight end.
Like the happiest person in the room right now. The happiest person in the room right now should be Cole Kmet. Like by a mile, by 10 miles, by fucking country miles.
So underused this year.
Can I tell you guys something that really impressed me when watching these playoff games with Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders? It was they were up against a 2-minute warning. I forget if it was in the half or in the fourth quarter. I want to say it was in the fourth quarter. Now, the result of the play wound up being a sack, but regardless, they lined up with like 2:05 on the time clock, and even the announcers weren't sure if they're going to be able to snap it on time. But like they lined up, got ready, set, hike, ball came out at like 2:01. And it was just like so smooth, nonchalant, no worries. We know what we got to do. And like I said, the result was a sack, but just the approach to that play and position. And then I'm looking at the Bears, and we have, like a situation during the season where on 4th and 5, our special team starts running out, our offense is waving them back. They can't get a play call called in on time. They get half a play call called in. Now it's 15 seconds. The mics get cut off. Caleb is sitting there, looks at his armband, guesses what they called. Now you're at 12 seconds. You're lining up and this and that. And like what you're dealing with this season from Caleb Williams' point of view, it's actually remarkable that with all that going on, with the amount of times he did get sacked, it's remarkable that he stayed healthy all year. It's remarkable that he did as well as he did. It's remarkable that he still has a great mentality, and I'm confident that this didn't break him like it would most people. So, like, you listen, I don't like the sack numbers. The sacks avoided, I like that statistic, Carl, but I would like to know sacks avoided for every quarterback so I could see what the average is. And like, how much does that 50 sacks?
I'm pretty sure that Caleb's number of sacks avoided was double the next closest player.
Lamar Jackson was the next person with 28.
So that's what I mean. So you're dealing with chaos.
And Lamar Jackson has a good offensive line.
You're still getting your ass beat. You're not getting play calls in on time, and you're still somewhat producing here. So like, just fix. David, we talked about this. I actually wanted to do a show where I opened it up with all the problems we have on the Bears. Like, what can we fix for sure. You know what I mean?
Here,
think
I have the chart
Ben
right here.
Johnson
Timing.
fixes some stuff for sure.